I'm Galindo, the founder of MiLuna Brewing, and this is the Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. My guest is Juleidy Peña of Notch Brewing, and she is here for a conversation that goes beyond the brewhouse and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and curious beer drinkers. First, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. And to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment, but first, this message.
Is your fermentation data still a mystery? Upgrade to Senos. Their in-tank sensors provide real-time predictive analytics so you can catch issues early, save your batches, and grow your profit margins. Brew smarter and scale your brewing operations at Senos.com. That's SENNOS.com. And if you're going to the Craft Brewers Conference in April, get a free Senos demo and enter to win an iPad at their booth number 2106.
Hi, this is Tim Shasha from Berkeley Yeast. Our mission is to give brewers better tools that are affordable and easy to use. Our team has been developing Tropics yeast for nearly 10 years, and we just launched it in a dried format. This is a yeast strain with high thiol biotransformation activity, which means it's great for making tropical forward hazy IPAs. I'll tell you more about how it works later in the show, or you can check the show notes for our recent article called All About Thiols.
Malteurop has long been a pillar of North American malting, and they're growing to meet the needs of the modern brewer. Their brand new warehouse expansion at the Winona, Minnesota Malt House marks a new chapter in their commitment to service and reliability. With increased capacity and optimized logistics at the Winona hub, Malteurop is delivering the quality you expect with the speed you need. Discover the Malteurop difference at malteuropmaltingco.com.
Welcome, and I'm very pleased to have Juleidy Peña as my guest today. Born in the Dominican Republic, Julie's beer journey started homebrewing, which rapidly turned into co-founding a small craft brewery concept with a friend where she got her first opportunities at developing recipes in all-grain brewing. In 2018, after relocating to Massachusetts, she started her professional brewing career at Aromatics Brewing, working as a cellar person and eventually transitioning to brewer. Now, currently working at Notch Brewing as head brewer, her approach to brewing is more technical and mostly focused on lager brewing. Hola, Julie. Welcome.
Hola. Super excited to be here. How are you?
I'm super excited to be here. I miss you so much. I feel like it's been forever. Well, it kind of feels like forever. Like September was a long time ago, I guess.
Yeah. It has snowed a lot after that.
Yeah, exactly. But here you are, and thank you for jumping on after a long day of work. So tell me, what did you do today? Did you what was for breakfast? And then what time did you start? And then what do your brew boots look like? Be really specific. How was your day?
So I always like to start my brew day at 7 a.m. So by 7 a.m. I need to get my mash going. I feel like I'm very meticulous when it comes to my brew day. So we have this brew house that is amazing because it's set up to brew all these kind of technical brews, like decoctions and cereal matches and all that. So we have a panel that you can set up in different ways. So I'm more of just setting up everything before I start my brew. Some of my coworker and sometimes my boss, he will be setting his panel as he goes. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot do that. What if I run something to the floor? So I'm very hands-on. I need to set up everything before I even start. And then I'm just there all the time and just looking at it. I wish I was more of a brewer that could just walk away and not be on top of their brew all the time. But I'm always just I'm looking at it at all time. It's just things are running smoothly. So when I'm brewing, I'm always there. I like to mash in at 7 a.m. I usually get my breakfast in the brew house. I'm an overnight oats girly, so I'll do that. And then just go with it. We have, depending on the kind of beer that we're making, my brew days can be between 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. So depending of the time that I'm gonna spend there, it's kind of like how my day flows. Now, I'm doing a lot of computer work as well. So kind of like managing both things. There's a lot of waiting when it comes to brewing as well. So in that downtime, I'm usually just like looking at the schedule and like what we need to ingredients we need to buy for next week, or do we have like all the hops that we need and all that. So it keeps me entertained. But yeah, I'm very hands on when it comes to my brew day.
Well, definitely not boring, that's for sure. How many turns do you guys have a day?
So we have a very small brew house. We have two locations. The one in Salem is our main location. It's a 10-barrel brew house. And then we have a smaller, newer brewery that is 7 barrels. And due to the extent of the brews that we do, we mostly can only do one brew per day. We mostly brew lagers, like 98% of what we do is lagers. And some of them are decocted single, double, triple, enhanced double. So we have a 3 vessel brew house, and we have a kettle that it works as the decoction vessel, the kettle, and the whirlpool. So when you're doing a beer that has decoctions in it, you cannot start a second turn until you're out of that vessel. So it makes you can still do it. It's just like makes the day really, really long, which doesn't really help us. We're a
Yeah.
very, very small team. It's me and my other brewer Anna, and then Chris, our founder, um, and also he's a brewer. So when we're stretched and have a lot of things to do, he'll come into the brew house and help out, which is pretty good when you have a owner that is also a brewer, that you can like have that backup hands to help out. So we basically do one turn per day. We brew between 3 and 4 times a week, depending on the season. Salem is kind of a ghost now when it's really cold. So in the winter, our production kind of slows down, which is I like it because it's like the time when we have the opportunity to create new beers and kind of like experiment with like the things that we want to try it out. We don't have a proto system, so whatever we brew gets scaled right away. So we really spend a lot of time just like doing research and kind of thinking about these new beers really in depth, because once we brew them, hopefully we don't have to throw them down the drain.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time on that.
So with the 7 barrel system, how many fermenters do you guys have? How many bright tanks? Since it's generally lager, right? So what's the rotation on that? It's like if you brew 3 times a week and lagering does take some time, do you guys leave like one tank open just in case if it's like a collab or something else of that sort?
So we usually try for the lagers to have a 6 week production time, ideally. Um, for us, I before being at Notch, for I was at Arona. We were basically a production brewery in a very small brewery, and we were brewing twice a day, 5 days a week. So the schedule was a very strict. Things needed to happen at specific times, because the schedule you couldn't stop. So everything was done by days.
Mhm.
For us at Notch is a little more flexible, because we're not producing one on that scale, but also there's a lot of sensory going into the beers.
Yeah.
And before we put them on, we always sit down, we try them, make sure that we're happy with them, that they look good, that they taste up to brand, and that basically just like feel all the sensory sides that we look in the beer. So 6 weeks is what we set out to do. Sometimes it will take a little longer just because of, beer is every ingredient in beer is like it changes with the seasons and the lots, so it doesn't
And
behave the same
yeah,
every
for sure.
time. So in Salem, we have a 10-barrel brew house, and we have three 10-barrel lagering tanks, horizontal lagering tanks, and
Mhm.
we have five 20-barrel horizontal lagering tanks. We have three, five, 10-barrel fermenters, conicals, and we have four, five 20s. We have one 10-barrel bright tank that we use for the ales, and we have a 20-barrel open fermenter. So for our Czech beers, we usually have four Czech beers on at all times. So we have a 10 Plato, a Czech style Pils, a Polo Tamave, and a Tamave. And then the Tamave will be, we change it to a Chardonnay um, mid year in like the fall. Um, so all of these beers will go to the open fermenter first. Some of the Czech lagers we brew, we put in the open fermenter, but not all of them. So the transition and the rotation of the tank is like, it's not as rigid, I'll say. It's like kind of hard to predict, because also it's like, if we're not in need of that tank, the beer will sit there for a little longer,
Yeah.
just because we don't have a lot of cold side space. So what I'll say that we aim to do 6 week from brew to packaging, but there's like a lot of outside things that kind of like will switch that date for us. We do
Got it.
try to
Okay.
have, yeah.
I have two questions. One completely unrelated but sort of related, and the other one related. So the first question is, when you say Salem, do you like, is it like Salem, like Brujeria Salem? Like, is that the Salem?
Yeah, Salem, Massachusetts, the one from Hocus Pocus.
Okay, so seeing that this is what I obsess about, anything that's like witchcraft or witches, all of that stuff. In your time there, did you ever like come across like, I don't know, like like a like a like the mash tun all of a sudden turns on by its own, or like seeing, you know what I mean? Or like you walk out on a full moon and like all of a sudden you see like a broom flying in the sky, like anything, does
This
anything
is
that makes you like freak out a little bit?
not really freak out, but like come September and October, um, is Salem is like out of control. You'll see like people walking outside just like dressed up as like different things. And our tap room always is like, I'm always like looking outside the window just to see like who's like coming in to
Yeah,
like dress up like at different things.
yeah.
But in the brewery, I'm always like, when you're brewing by yourself and you're like the last one and everything just like sounds like, I'm like, what is that? So I usually just like pump up the music. It's like, I don't want to hear anything in here. I'm by myself. Um, don't
No,
make it scary.
I totally get it. Sorry for the barking in the background. I'm currently house sitting for a friend, so I apologize for the barking.
Dogs
Uh,
can do no harm.
okay. Well, yeah, because he's a protector. Listen, I would say like, I'm not religious, I'm suspicious.
Yeah.
So when it comes to October or any, you know what I mean? Or like anything Salem or anything close to that, if I were to be in that location, I promise you, I would not allow you to leave me alone for like 1 second at all. First of all, it's fun being this suspicious, but you never know. So the next question is, this is more for like first time listeners or beer drinkers who are curious. Can you explain the process with horizontal tanks?
Yeah. So the difference of like horizontal lagering tanks and like bright tanks or like unit tanks is when you're lagering the beer, um, we're looking for the yeast to settle. So imagine you have this like tank that is what, like 10 feet, and you want the yeast to like by gravity and like the drop of temperature to drop to the bottom. So the surface that the yeast have to like flock down is like way bigger, right? Vertical. Where in the horizontal tank you have more space, so the space that the yeast have to go from the top to the bottom is like less. So you have like a more surface area that the yeast has to drop less to the bottom. Did that make sense?
Yes. And what's the yield? Is there a yield difference between a regular fermenter and a horizontal tank?
Well, you have, at least our lagering tanks, they have a racking arm. I feel like with the lagering tanks, usually your yield is better because there's less. Like once you're also like transferring to secondary, even if you move a little bit of like yeast, is usually like very low. So you're able to like package like most of the beer. For us, we don't have a hop strainer, is it that is called? But also we're not dry hopping a lot of beers. So like the yield for from like transferring and just like the lagering, I'll say is like it's like not a lot.
The reason why I asked is because I remember when I first started getting into beer and they were giving tours back then when tours were extremely exciting for new craft beer drinkers. Every time I would walk in the cellar and I would see the horizontal tanks, I was always too shy to ask like what's going on in there. It looked almost like a massive power plant or like a nuclear power
Yeah.
plant. So to be able to have an easier breakdown would have been great. And I know there's probably a listener or two who's asking the same question, what's a horizontal tank? So one, I'm so jealous that your main focus is lager brewing. Uh, like I'm happy for you,
I'm
but
very
also
fortunate.
slightly jealous. Especially the fact that you don't have to dry hop so much, and there's the entire process with overly hopped beers. But you said packaging earlier, and we were talking before the recording happened. We were talking about the packaging that it's kind of sort of shifting to smaller cans now, like from 16 ounces to 12 ounces, and yours is actually smaller, the one that you showed me. So first of all, what are you drinking? And tell me about what brought you to a point where where the brewery wanted to change to smaller size cans.
So I'm drinking Salem Lager. It's our Bavarian style Helles Lager. I love Helles. I feel that is like the most gentle of the lager styles. It's just like I feel like that like maltiness that is kind of like breadiness, and the hop in it is just there to like balance out the beer. This is one of the beers that we like have spent a lot of time just like rethinking and tweaking and just like putting a lot of thought into the brewing process. We tried to add a little bit of elements of low oxygen brewing as we can, because we don't have the equipment to do everything that process entitles. So I love challenges and I love brewing difficult things. So I feel like all the effort that we have put to this specific beers is like showing. And I've really loved to drink it. When it comes to the packaging, we usually try to do cans once a month. because we don't have the bandwidth to just like put a lot of beer in cans. Also, it's like we don't have a canning line. We get Ironheart to go and like package for us. And we are very traditional when it comes to brewing, and we also spend a lot of time thinking on how to properly serve these beers, and like the drinking experience for us is also like very important. And there's this serving in Germany that is called snitch or snit. I never can say that properly, which is basically half a pour. So we offered this for people in the tap room. And the idea behind this is the pour that you get as the last beer before you go, or if you are in first and are waiting for your friends. Um, it's like a communal thing, or if you're like buying around for everyone. So we found these are called slick cans. They're 8.4 ounces. So basically a half a liter, a half of the half a liter. And we've been doing them for not that long. I'll say 4 months or so, or maybe six. And we're just sticking to the German style beers, and people are loving them because it's sometimes you want to just have a 3 sips of beer, right? Not
Yep,
commit to a full can of like 16-ounce beers.
exactly. Right.
When you're like in your house, or you just need like something to take the edge off.
Yes.
So they're been pretty popular. We are like every time that we can now, we squeeze one of these little cans in the mix, and yeah, they're doing pretty well, and they're just like so cute.
Oh, they're so cute. Wait, can you hold it up? And then I know this is not a video type of podcast. It's so cute.
my hands
Oh
my
my
hands
goodness.
is bigger.
That is a perfect sipping size. Not gonna lie. I would call that the perfect roadie beer. I would call it the perfect train beer. I would call it the perfect I'm hanging out with my partner's family and I don't know what else to talk about, so I'm gonna just go in the closet and just drink a little something to take the edge off beer. So okay, I'm really glad that you're doing that. With the loggers. Okay. With the loggers. So, like my background is Mexican, your background is Dominican Republic, right? So, I grew up drinking like Modelo, drinking whenever I would go to Mexico, it'd be like the caguamas or the Tecate lights. And for the life of me, when I was old enough and with my cousins, I couldn't find that at all in Los Angeles. I just couldn't. It was only when my cousins would drive down to like Chihuahua or Mexico City, and they would bring back like 30 pack like cases, and also they would come out and like I think they call them piernudas, basically like these 40s, but it would be like a Tecate light, right? And
Yeah.
I know you can get them as soon as you cross the border, but I miss those so much, and I can't find those here. And I feel like that Tecate light would be such a great concept out here in the US, right? Because of just I feel like the Tecate, once it warms up, it gets like extremely sweet. I feel like it's a little bit sweeter than most light beers that I'm accustomed to. But the Tecate light, I feel like it's a perfect balance. And I feel like I can drink a 40 and still fit into my skinny jeans. You know what I mean? So my question for you is, what beers were extremely common in the Dominican Republic that you grew up with that you didn't really see when you moved to Massachusetts?
So we're a huge the DR beer drinking country, and a lot of rum too. But for the longest time, the only thing that we had was like macro beer. We have Cerveceria Presidente, which is like the main one that has Presidente, which is what anyone that goes to vacation in the DR drinks, because that's the one that is in the resorts. And then they have another brand called Bohemia, It's like a brown bottle, which is what we locals usually drink. So I tell my friends, if you go to the DR and you don't drink Bohemia, what you even want there? Um, and then there was this smaller, still macro brewery called Quisqueya, which is also a name we call the island. And that one was like brew. Both of all the macro beers in the DR are brewed with corn, but this one it was like you can really taste the corn. So I grew up drinking Presidente mostly. So macro lager was like all that I knew for most of my life. Um, Once I started traveling, I was exposed to different beer styles, and I was like, oh, wait, there's like a whole world out there. And that was like what basically got me into wanting to brew. Because I was like, I like beer so much, I should be making my own beer.
When you say in your travels, where specifically were you exposed to different styles of beer outside from what we grew up with?
So I went to Panama once, and and there was a German bar next to the hotel.
Really?
And that's when I got my first dark lager, which I don't even remember the brand. So I was like, beers can be dark and malty? Like, what is this? It wasn't even like in Europe, it was in Panama.
Did you not have Modelo Negros? I know that you like macro beer is the same, but was Modelo Negro like not a thing in the Dominican Republic?
So we had later on I found out that we did had a couple macro international beers, and there were not a lot. Duvel was one of them, and
Mm-hmm.
then the other macros, Heineken, Stella. um I think that's it, pretty much. Nowadays you can find pretty much um any beer style, and even with the all these microbreweries being like the same.
Yeah.
We even brew Modelo in the DR, like Presidente, which is part of Anheuser-Busch, brews Modelo there.
Has craft beer made it to the DR already? Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and then also how long has it been? How long ago did it start kind of making its presence there?
So when I started home brewing was like 2012. Um, and I'll say that when I was getting into it, was like I say between 2014 to 2016, 17. We tried to open a micro small brewery, and we wanted to do it the right way. So we were trying to get permits and all that. And at that time, there was no laws for or like parameters for small breweries. So when you were to get any permits or had to pay for things, they were trying to like they were like you need to pay this like insurance or fine that is like millions of pesos. I'm like, we're trying to brew like 0.1%,
Yeah.
but Presidente was doing. So it was a lot of time just like trying to kind of like explain what we were doing and just like moving our file from place to place. And we were doing that for like 2 years or a little more. And we got really close, but then we couldn't open. But luckily, the ones behind us were able to do so. Today, there's like established microbreweries there. They're like brewing beer there. There's beer bars. I haven't been there in like 2 years, but last time that I was there, um, I was like pretty impressed with the quantity of craft brewers that are
Nice.
actually there now.
That's great. With where what direct or like what's the popularity of craft beer? Like did the haze craze come through the DR, or are there like the hop heads, like, or is it all just kind of like a mixture, or very like heavy like adjuncted imperial stouts? Like what is the DR like to drink outside of the macro beers and kind of getting into more um complex beers?
Yeah, so besides the craft beers that are being brewed there, there's a lot of now sported beers that are macro. Um, I feel like for a while IPAs were really popular. Big stouts, like those like action stouts, like 10%. People love alcohol there. So those like big beers like high ABV
Yeah.
are gonna do well. People love those like Belgian style triples and all those like big beers are really big there. I don't know. I feel like I guessing they're like getting their money worth with that.
Yeah. So, listen, we're going to take a short break for this message and then come right back for more of this conversation with Juleidy Peña of Notch Brewing.
Is your fermentation data still a mystery? Upgrade to Senos. Their in-tank sensors provide real-time predictive analytics so you can catch issues early, save your batches, and grow your profit margins. Brew smarter and scale your brewing operations at senos.com. That's SENNOS.com. And if you're going to the Craft Brewers Conference in April, get a free Senos demo and enter to win an iPad at their booth number 2106.
Tim here again from Berkeley Yeast. Our Tropics yeast is based on a London ale strain, but we added a new gene to its genome that codes for a unique thiol-releasing enzyme. The enzyme converts the precursors in barley to free thiols that smell and taste like passionfruit and grapefruit. It's super clean. No off flavors like burnt rubber or other sulfurous notes, just tropical aromatics. You don't have to do anything unusual either, like mash hopping. Just pitch dry Tropics and supercharge your hazy IPA.
Malteurop has long been a pillar of North American malting, and they're growing to meet the needs of the modern brewer. Their brand new warehouse expansion at the Winona, Minnesota Malt House marks a new chapter in their commitment to service and reliability. With increased capacity and optimized logistics at the Winona hub, Malteurop is delivering the quality you expect with the speed you need. Discover the Malteurop difference at malteuropmaltingco.com.
Welcome back. That was so cheesy. I'm pretty sure 80 brewers have done that way better than me, and I would like to apologize for the butchered exit or the break part of this conversation. So, okay, I love what I'm loving about this conversation is a lot of like relatable experiences with how we grew up with drinking beer and also what our cultures prefer. Same thing, like in like with you guys, it's rum, right? Rum and
Yeah.
lagers, and in Mexico, it's of course like tequila mezcal lagers. I got into the craft beer industry in 2015, and at that point, my family not at all familiar with like just the simplest ones like golden ale or even a kolsch, like, and not even that a kolsch is somewhat similar to a lager. So having to introduce them to craft beer was, it wasn't challenging, it was just interesting. It was interesting. It was a lot of, yes, of course, like education was involved, and kind of starting them off like with the pale ale to kind of get them into the IPA, and then the West Coast IPA, and then getting them into the Northeast IPAs. And sure enough, as soon as it got to the Northeast IPAs, because they were like 7%, 7.5%, 8%, they were all about it. So just like with the Belgian beers in the DR. And then I think it was last year when I went to go visit, I love incorporating my family with whatever I do in beer, whether it's festivals or anniversaries or brewery openings. Like when I was in LA, I loved taking them with me so they could see this part of my world. Like I loved including them. Like the inclusivity of it all was awesome because I loved watching their expression or just their reactions to a completely different drinking culture that we grew up with, right? And we were hanging out at Highland Park Brewery, and they had Underbergs. And so
I love where this is going.
yeah, and so and like like the tradition with Underbergs, like I don't care if you don't like it, you're drinking it. As soon as it falls in your hand, you know what's gonna happen. So I order a round of 6 Underbergs, and the bartenders and like two of the brewers there, and they're all excited to like do it with me and my cousins. And sure enough, like I give them all the little tiny thing, and then my cousin Charlie was like, "Oh, look, it's like a little tiny beer," not even asking the taste or anything. So we crack them open, we do the cheers, and we toss them back. The faces, really, the faces that my cousins made. One of them couldn't even finish it because it's like for them the taste was so disgusting. Of course it's disgusting, but you suck it up because that's what you do in our
Yeah.
industry. And and I remember Charlie saying, "Why would you guys do this to yourselves? This is disgusting." And I was in tears, dude, in tears.
It
So
grows on you, Underberg.
of course it grows on you. And I told him like, "Oh, it's good for your stomach." They're
It
just like,
actually is.
exactly. So that's
I couldn't down Underbergs before, and now I have to like stop myself. Cause like the thing is like you drink one and then someone else come and then you have like four in a day. Those things
yeah,
will like destroy you
yes.
if you don't keep track.
But are you supposed to keep track when you're drinking
I
Underbergs
don't know,
though?
but you're easily lose track. And then you're
Uh-huh.
like, why do I feel like I'm dying?
Yeah.
Oh,
If you're shy, drink Underbergs. If if
I
you're just
drank
kind of a
5
close
Underbergs. There's
exa
47% alcohol.
that's so it's like music to my ears. Like I feel like they would love that in Mexico and in the DR. I'm hoping that we would get sponsored by Underberg for this podcast. What do you think? I feel like we've spoken about it enough that we should probably get sponsored, maybe some t-shirts or like
Give
little.
us a call.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, so that was my experience with my family and in my culture and just being able to break down craft beer. Um, like was it similar for you, or was it just kind of like something that you just didn't really notice, or like it was super easy?
Yeah, so I'll say I don't think my like specifically my parents kind of like really know what I do. I like try to explain.
Yeah.
And they saw me like home brewing because I was like doing that in like my mom's kitchen.
Yeah.
So they probably thought it was like very weird that was like my career, like my second career, because I had
Yeah.
like a normal job in the DR while doing beer on the weekends.
What was a normal job?
I work like in an office for the government.
You are beyond impressive. Do you know that?
And then I was like brewing beer on the weekends.
Such a
Every
baddie.
weekend.
Such a baddie. Okay,
Um,
cool, cool, cool. Yeah.
but for like my sisters, my cousins, my friends, they were always like really supportive of like what we're doing. To the point where I was like, you're not helping me if you are saying that everything that I brew is good. You need to be objective because like I cannot drink this and you're telling me this is good. I know like free beer is like nice, but please help me out. So in that sense, I've the support from like friends and like family was always there. They, had to like I had to like explain them what we were doing, like what is that porter, or what
Mm,
is this like IPA that you're giving me? This is like really bitter. So it was a working process. Now it's not as hard because like everyone's been like exposed to
right.
craft beer, but yeah. even if they didn't really like that, it was really hard to like get them to like tell me the truth.
I just want to stop you right there when you say that because I've think about like the sensory advantage that we have as opposed to new drinkers, right? Or people who are new to homebrew beer or micro beer. When again, when I was back home, I went to a brewery with my cousins. I think you see like a common theme here with with me and
Yeah.
who I hang out with back home. But we went to this brewery and they got some lagers. No, they got two IPAs, and both of them were like, "Oh man, this is really good. This is really good." And I'm like, "Oh great, let me try it." And I tried it. Nothing but diacetyl. It was a complete diacetyl bomb. Like I can't even explain to you. And I'm just like, what do you do? No, we're changing this out. Probably the line wasn't pulled through all the way, whatever. And of course the question comes up like, what's diacetyl? And then having to break it down like what like the main like off flavors are, like popcorn or butterscotch or but things like that. And of course my cousin's like, "Oh, yeah, no, I like butterscotch though." And I'm like, "No, no, no, let's
Not
bring it
in
back."
the beer.
Exactly. So when they say we liked it and it's not good, they don't know that, right? Like they're
Yeah.
just really enjoying this product that's in their hand, which, it's kind of cool. And they're being supportive. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next, but I won't like that.
Okay.
Why why Massachusetts and why not Denver or why not Seattle or why not Los Angeles, or why not Chicago? Why Massachusetts?
Ah, it's not as exciting as you imagine. I moved here because my sister used to live here, and I was moving to this country without knowing anyone else.
Mm,
So I was like, I'm gonna go to my sister's, and I gave myself a month to be there. My plan was like 6 months, and then I stayed there for a month. And then I moved to be closer to Aeronet because I got a job. But when I moved here, it was like 28 beginning of 2018. Our brewery project didn't work out in the DR in 2016, 2017. So I took like a year off of beer because I was burned out,
yeah.
broke, and sad. So I was like, I don't want to hate beer because I really like it. So I'm just gonna step away and just drink beer for the time being.
Yeah.
But when I moved here, I was like, this is my chance to actually have a real career in brewing. So I came really determined that I was gonna get a job in brewing. And I was like, I know that doesn't really translate. What I did in the DR was like really small scale, but
Mhm.
trust me, I really want this, and I'm not gonna make you regret this decision. So yeah, the timing worked great. I applied to be a beer server, but I was like, I'm doing this job, but this is not the job that I want. I want to work
Right.
in production.
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks, they had like a part-time opening in the back. So I was in the cellar pretty quickly. And then my cellar supervisor, it was just the two of us. Um, 3 months in for me, he quit to go to another brewery. So I
Oh
was
wow.
like by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I thrive when things go to shit. So I have to figure it out.
I am right there with you 100%. To the point where whenever something would break down in the brewery, I would be like, "Oh, me. I want to fix it. I want to try to fix it. I want to troubleshoot." That part of the critical thinking or trying to just problem solve things that I never thought I would ever be able to do. that for me was such like it was such a fulfilling feeling, right? And I feel like with us as brewers, because we love it so much, we take a lot of joy in little things like the mill breaking down, or all of a sudden all the power shut off. You have to go look at the breakers, or you know what I mean? Yes, it's frustrating, and at times you're just completely exhausted from it, especially if you do this with like somebody else, like another coworker or somebody from maintenance comes to help you. But that feeling of like, oh my God, we did it. Holy crap, I did not think that was going to work out.
You're a
And
maintenance person? Wow.
yeah,
See.
like it's, oh, oye, cálmate, yeah. Listen, we had a lot of support surrounding us at that time. Ben Granger is amazing. So, okay, I'm gonna shift a little bit, but still stay within the realm of our industry, specifically because of of our backgrounds, right? So you see where the industry is going currently, or at least for the past 2-3 years, where or since post pandemic, where you're seeing breweries closing left and right, and then the amount of conferences that we've been to, and it's how can we be more inclusive? How can we diversify our tap rooms, or how can we be more welcoming to the surrounding community? And I feel like from what I was hearing in the past was like, well, we need to be more innovative. We need to innovate. And I feel like because we are the minority and we're sitting there in these seats listening to the majority, for me it's like, well, why don't you guys do this? Why don't we try this? But I'm saying it to myself, right? Because of the type of drinking culture that I was accustomed to on the West Coast as opposed to what it is here on the East Coast. Very, very different drinking cultures, right? So me asking you, given, yes, you are a MJF awardee, right? And that's the purpose of the MJF, is to be able to support and diversify the industry with the internships and the scholarships, so on and so forth. Like if you were to jump, if they were asked you to be a speaker in this subject, asking about like what does it look like to you now? What do you see? What's your perspective? And also, what do you feel that should be done? Like, and this could be a simple answer, or this could be a more in-depth answer from you, or this could just be like, I don't know, I've never really thought about it like that, because we don't have that problem where I brew. It could be anything. I'm curious to know your perspective.
Yeah. I feel like we'll have to dissect this in different points.
Okay.
So going back to our drinking culture being different, we kind of having not a lot of choices kind of made our culture have beer be just like there for sharing, right? You're sitting down with your friends or family, whatever, you're just drinking this single beer. And the conversation is not around the beer. We're not dissecting the beer, which is kind of how you can see that happens in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved here, I noticed the difference in the sense of that, and now being in the industry, in the sense of like a lot of the customers want something new all the time. And I feel like sometimes for smaller craft breweries, we're in the business of selling beer. So sometimes you have to chase that. And it means that a lot of people are just like chasing what is happening right now.
100%.
So it's like you're doing all these things, but you're not really kind of like getting better or any of them, because you're just like half-assing all of that, because you're just like, oh, we need to put out this new
Mm-hmm.
trendy beer that is on at
Right.
all times, and then diversity, which is like extremely important. We're a country made of immigrants, even though they kind of want not to like us now, but
Right,
is
but there they are drinking and eating our food. So like,
right. So it's like important for people to, feel represented.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, when you go to a brewery, who do you see behind the bar? Who do you see drinking the beer? Like, do they all look the same? you know and it's like, are you tapping into your staff? What I always say is like, we all come from different backgrounds, we all have been to different places, we all have something to present that will make you different. So for like breweries, I feel like it should be more of like, and this is like something that we talked about, and not just being that like third space where people feel that they belong beyond the beer. Obviously, you want to make the best beer that you can, but like
Right.
you have this vision and you want to be this place where like community can go, and you are open to all kinds of like backgrounds of people, instead of just, obviously you don't want to go broke, but you can still have values and a mission, and a, our objective that you're following, and still be that center for your community where people feel welcome, represented, and safe. So I would like the industry just to um, be more mindful of the human side of it, more into the people,
Mm.
um, and just like use the beer as a vehicle to get people together. Um, and I've always say, if you make good beer, they will come. So, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that was beautifully put. I feel like as an industry, whether we like it or not, we have to move the goalpost for ourselves just a little bit further because I feel the goalpost has already been reached and we're all there celebrating, but it's like, wait, it's just the industry celebrating, not the industry and its consumers. Right.
Right.
So I feel like we have to move the goalpost just a little bit more to ensure that once we get there, it's us and our consumers. The challenging part is how do we get there? And a lot of what I come across through my time in the industry is the constant conversation of or concern of, well, I don't want it to come off too performative, or I don't know really what you mean by getting myself out there in the community. Like, I don't even know where to begin. And I feel like the industry, because of the majority, um, focusing more on what they're gonna look like, trying to be diverse and inclusive, that kind of scares them a little bit. And I feel like because it hasn't really, it's just now being done, right? Like it's just now kind of evolving into that because there are stepping stones or foundations for them to copy off of, to relate to, things like that. And I think the best example that I could put out that you have been a part of is the 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 hop experience with YCH, right? The MJF was able to take you and a group of 11 other awardees to spend 4 days in Yakima. And I believe out of the 12 awardees, I think like 10 have never experienced
Yeah.
a hop harvest, right? And these awardees were brewers, head brewers, brewery owners, right? And this is their first time. And sure enough, it was the most diverse group in all of Yakima walking through the fields. And one, to put us all in the same room, because it's always hard to get all of us together, right? People of color, that is, in the industry. And the fact that we were there with each other every single day, morning and night, right? Hungover or over caffeinated, or you know what I mean? Or like filled with tacos. We were all there. And two things that I really enjoyed the most, well, many things, but two that really stick out to me is when Victoria Garza, who put together that project, who was amazing. Went out of our way to go get us tacos for
Yeah.
lunch, right? But not just any tacos, like tacos, right? And we were, you and I were talking at the table, and who else was with us? It was,
Maybe Bella?
yeah, Bella was with us, and we were getting all chatty and stuff, and Bella points out like this is great because our conversations are so relatable. Like we have a common ground, right? And then that like to hear her say that and looking over at you and you're just nodding yes, and Victoria being a big champion for us that entire week was that like the amount of effort that Victoria and YCH put into it, not at all performative because it took so much work. Performative is more like a half-assed job and
Yeah.
then just looking for the best, right? But in this case, Victoria was beyond committed to ensure that we had the best experience, and we did. And Ryan being the CEO was also extremely helpful through all of it and super supportive and showing up and everything. That I loved a lot. And I feel like that is setting the example, right? And then the second experience was watching you guys step into the hop fields, and for the majority of the group it being their first time. I don't think to be there and witness all of it in real time, and at the same time the owners of the hop fields and other brewery owners getting to meet all of you guys. It's like you see, it's not that intimidating, it's not that scary. Like we're all here and we're all having a good time, and the connections that you guys made as a whole without like Garrett jumping in or without me jumping in, like you guys had this confidence in you guys that you were able to bring on amongst each other. And brewery owners and the hop farm owners, they were also super excited to be a part of something new, which was having one of the biggest diverse groups in craft beer walk their fields. And I think those two are perfect examples of like it's not that hard to create a sense of belonging. It's not that hard to create a sense of common ground. It's not that hard to be inclusive, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so saying that, can you give me just a little bit of, or a lot of it, your take on that experience that you went on for that week?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I tell everyone that I was on the second cohort of the foundation, which
Mm-hmm.
was like 3 years ago. And obviously, I got um, peer education, which it was something that I really wanted. Um, it's like I'm like reading all these books, whatever. You have years of experience in the industry, but there's always that like little nagging thing people just like questioning. It's like, what do you really know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was great, but I keep telling people that like the thing that I appreciate more of the foundation is the connections that I made,
Yeah.
the people that I met, just like knowing that we're out there, um, and we're thriving, we're like doing amazing things in like our industry, and also all of them are like amazing. I love all of them.
Yeah.
It's just like feeling that feeling of belonging is like, damn, we're like, there's a lot of us and we're
Yeah.
like doing amazing things. And you don't have to be performative. You don't have to release a statements or whatever. We need actions. We need people to feel comfortable in your space so that when you have a job opening, they apply. Um,
Yeah.
be open the door for someone that might not have most of the experience, but it's like a breakthrough. I feel like um mind you, from my own perspective, I feel like we're always going that extra mile,
True.
just because of how we were brought up, where you're just like, you need to work hard
Mm-hmm.
for everything that you put your mind to, and like nothing is given.
Yeah.
um, And I feel like it shouldn't be this hard. It's just
Yeah.
like you have to start from the inside. I don't want you to put like a Instagram post when like all of your workforce like look the same. You don't have like
Mhm.
I go there and I don't feel represented by anyone or anything that I see on the board. Um, and just like put your
Yeah,
put your money where your mouth is, or backwards. I don't know.
exactly. I feel like
That's it.
I think there needs to be a pilot program where where the majority of the beer industry is broken off into groups, and they are assigned to they're assigned to like people from different parts of the world, like people are assigned to you and there's a group assigned to me, and I'll take them to like a quinceañera, right? And it's like, okay, you guys, we're about to walk into my cousin's quinceañera. I want you guys to focus on how my family greets you. Okay. Just a little bit of an experience of like what to expect in a room where you don't belong, but yet you are welcomed. And when you walk in, they're going to give you shots of tequila. When you walk in, they're going to serve you a massive plate, and it's most likely going to be my grandmother. They're going to, like, my tias are going to pull you out to dance. And by the end of the night, when you're like hungover and you're like starving and you're so drunk, there's going to be a taquiza at the end of the party, and that's going to be at 4 a.m, right? And it's like at the end of like the time that they're spending, it's like, okay, you guys, what did we learn, and how are we going to take this with us back to our breweries? I feel like if there was like a pilot program that did that, I because we're constantly thrown into their culture, right? We're constantly thrown into their communities because the industry is very white male dominated or white dominated, right? So we're constantly having to fit in, and we're not accustomed to like finding ways to fit in. Whereas in our culture, is like the door is always open.
Yeah, you
You're
just have
hungry,
to. You
you need
just have to show up with someone.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
this is my friend, and then you want to go to sleep, but they're still dancing out there. So you're like, oh my God, why are you having such a good time? But yeah, I feel like things are changing, and like the foundation is something to be like putting that in there, because like now I go to festivals, um and I like spend half of my time speaking Spanish, so I'm
Yeah,
like, yes, this is amazing. It's like
yeah,
there's people like me around there. I've like
yeah.
sometimes spends like 3 months without like saying a word in Spanish. I miss it.
Yeah, same.
So it's like it's nice when you go to like these places and you have like people on your corner. Mind you, I think overall, like the places where we're involved, everyone is just like respectful and like a good time.
They're excited.
Yeah.
I and it's I think that alone makes us feel good because it's like, oh, so we're all having fun. We're not just like split up into groups at this festival, right? Which I really do love. And it's something that it means a lot to me to see that gradual change over time. Uh so listen, we're winding down our talk. And I listen, whether you like it or not, you are legit the next generation of brewers. Like this is it. Like you're it. That's like the brewers 5 years from now, even now, look like you and sound like you. You are the next generation. You're going to be the next leaders. You're in that place already, right? So there's going to be even like more articles about you. You're going to be in the cover of magazines because of your background and how you. Hey, take the compliment, okay? I know talent
I'm
when I see
very
it.
bad at taking compliments.
I know, same, but that's just what we do because we're not allowed to take compliments where we're from. So I guess now that you're in this seat and you're getting comfortable in this seat, how do you see yourself leading, not just as a head brewer, but as a brewer making a difference in our industry?
Um, I would like to kind of like get my heritage into the things I do. Um, I feel like whenever I'm tasting beer and describing things, I always have to like Google stuff. I'm like, this is what I mean. This is the fruit, and like people don't never seen it. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna be doing like fruited IPAs and stuff, and just like in a very subtle way, just like kind of like get my roots and like the things that like make my country into how I express myself through beer. Um, Obviously, I love to kind of express my culture, but also being really lucky to have work in environments where people were very open on sharing their knowledge with me, because I didn't went to beer school until
Mm-hmm.
I did my scholarship. So I've just been grinding and reading books and just like trying to absorb all the knowledge from other people. So I um, try to always be sort of like an open book for other people. Mind you, I'm not the best brewer. I don't know everything, but if there's a way for me to like help you with whatever, I'm your person. Just like let me know. I'll go find that thing that you need and I'll do it. So I feel like that's where I want to go forward. And like as I'm like progressing in my career, probably taking more responsibilities, positions, and all that. Um, just like being able to be creative. I feel like the thing that really draw me to beer was just like the artistic side of it. How you can just like imagine this beer in your head and just like work backwards, and then you have it in your hand and people like it and you're like, damn, I came up with that.
Yeah.
It feels pretty cool. It's like cheesy,
Yeah.
but like when people like drink a beer that I worked on and they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, you know,
Dude, it's our love language. That's why
it's
like
like
we
it
families
took
where we
me 10
cook.
hours, but glad you like it. That's
I'm
what
not a
I do
sweat
it.
mash, but please enjoy it while you're eating that
So
food.
yeah,
So yeah, I get
just
it.
like, kind of like put my print there and just like kind of like pay forward, because I feel like I've been very lucky um, in my career so far. Mind you, I work really hard, but still.
Yeah. I love that.
So, you know, in a way that I can like find someone that is like encourage them. It's like doesn't matter where you come from, if you really want this, because this is, you have to be really passionate to be in
100%.
this industry, because like it's not as glamorous as people think. Like
Absolutely
there's
not.
a lot of scrubbing floors and like
Hmm.
cleaning shit.
Hmm.
Um, so you really, really, really need to like it. But once you're in it, the people are fucking amazing.
Yeah,
And it's so fun. I love waking up and not doing the same thing every single day. Like every day
exactly.
is an adventure. What is
Exactly.
gonna break today? You know?
I love that that's what you went with instead of like, oh, I'm so exciting. Like what how's a beer gonna taste at the end of the day? No, it's always like what's gonna break today.
Yeah,
I
what is gonna go wrong? But we're ready to tackle it.
exactly. And hey, it's not about being the best brewer, it's about being a good brewer. And I am beyond I'm just so happy for you and your journey and your path and where you are now. And I love watching you continue to move forward in this journey of craft beer.
Well, thank you for having me. This was really, really fun.
Yeah.
I'm due to a trip to New York soon, so I'll let you know, and we will share beers and chisme soon.
Yes, beers and chisme and rum and mezcal, please.
and on the Bergs.
Oh, hey, I'm down. If you're down, I'm down. So just put it out there. And for our listeners, guess what? Julie will be back on the next episode of the show as the host, having a conversation with a brewer of her choosing. That episode will be on the air next week, so make sure you tune in for that. A reminder, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. To support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. I'm Breeze Galindo, the founder of MiLuna Brewing. Thank you for listening to the Brewer to Brewer podcast.
Is your fermentation data still a mystery? Upgrade to Senos. Their in-tank sensors provide real-time predictive analytics so you can catch issues early, save your batches, and grow your profit margins. Brew smarter and scale your brewing operations at Senos.com. That's SENNOS.com. And if you're going to the Craft Brewers Conference in April, get a free Senos demo and enter to win an iPad at their booth number 2106.
Tim here again from Berkeley Yeast. My favorite part about Tropics in a dried format is that it makes it easy to use Tropics more like an ingredient than a yeast strain. It's a great tool for turning tropical flavors up or down. Tropics on its own makes big notes of passionfruit and grapefruit, which is great for a lot of recipes, but sometimes you want to dial that thiol character down. Easy. You can just co-pitch at different rates with your house strain. If you want to dial it up, especially if you're using a pretty aggressive hop bill, then just add Tropics Boost. It's pure precursors dissolved in water and ethanol. Go to berkeleyyeast.com to find out how to turn the thiol dial to exactly where you want it.
Malteurop has long been a pillar of North American malting, and they're growing to meet the needs of the modern brewer. Their brand new warehouse expansion at the Winona, Minnesota Malt House marks a new chapter in their commitment to service and reliability. With increased capacity and optimized logistics at the Winona hub, Malteurop is delivering the quality you expect with the speed you need. Discover the Malteurop difference at malteuropmaltingco.com.